Three Stooges.
Who's know? Oh.
Hey everyone, you are live here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and this is actually the Boy and Girl Thing show, and we're doing something different tonight. We're connecting a lot of wonderful individuals who are going to help you with this terrific topic we have, which is a special broadcast, and it's a relationship connection. And when we talk about relationships, it can be a gamut of all different types of relationships, because when we are walking through life, relationships are important to us. And so we want to be able to live our best life. And in order to do that, we have to form relationships with other people. And most importantly, we have to form a relationship with ourselves. So we are going to bring on wonderful hosts and guests that are going to help you through whatever this transition period that you might very well have. But what it's going to do, it's really going to, I'm hoping, rock your boat and maybe change some things in your life. So I am Cece Schatz, the doyenne of relationships, and you are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast. We are the #1 internet singles talk network. Our website is Going Solo Media. I have my wonderful friends here. We're broadcasting out of South Carolina. And please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Kathy Lamb, and yeah, here we are, South Carolina. My goodness, who would have thought?
I know, it's fun. And we're staying here with Mark.
Hi, I'm
He
Mark.
was nice enough to let us stay in his house.
Yes.
It's
And
really cool.
so we're having a lot of fun with that.
Beautiful house.
Yes, and we have an additional host here with us tonight, one of our special friends. Let's add him to the stream here. And we have a lot of friends here with us tonight. So we have Dr. Johnny Genovese, is it? We're going to have Derek Bernard here with us. He's going to be joining us here shortly. Now, Dr. Johnny, he's out of Clearwater, Florida. So that's kind of cool. And then we have with us, I'm going to bring them forward here. We have Barry Selby, and Barry Selby is a relationship coach. He's, you're kind of a mentor of both. You kind of do women a lot, but I know you do men too. I know you help men through. That sounded pretty bad. I mean, sorry. I know. You don't have to have that phrase. You want to do lunch, and people usually say, "Sign me up." So, but yeah. But what I mean is that you're a life coach, and so you really specialize a lot in women, but we're helping them through that transition that women go through in relationship building. But you also help men, and so I just want people to know that they can come to you for that. So it's not a problem. So as I'm blushing, we'll get through it. And so then we have Hirsch with us. Hirsch is all the way from Chicago. Yeah, he's got his dog there. I love it. Yeah, and Hirsch does a wonderful show. It's called
Financial Wellness Hour.
Yeah, the Financial Wellness Hour, and that's on Tuesdays. We do that on Tuesdays mornings, bi-weekly. Yeah, it's really good. He's got some great hosts on there and guests, and his website is Life Cycle Financial. So you guys definitely want to be able to go there. And then Barry, you're out of work. Are you California?
California, yeah.
Yeah. So how are the fires there in California?
Well, they're up north. I'm in Southern California, and they've got about a 60% containment now. So people are starting to move back in again, thankfully. So, and especially rain forecast this weekend. So hopefully there'll be a little bit less traffic this weekend.
Yeah, you're coming across a little scratchy. I'm going to turn my volume up.
That's my dog, and I'm going to take out the room. I'll be right back.
Boy, that does not help. Yeah. So that. Okay. All right. And then we're going to bring Judy up. Judy's here with us too. Hey, Judy, how are you?
Hi, Cece. I'm doing great. This is a great forum that you've got here tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of people. We've already got some comments here. We'll see what happens. Sometimes it's not. Oh, I like this. What did he say? Sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. Oh, what did I say something bad already?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was But it got your attention, didn't it? You guys paid attention to that one. Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks, Ken. We really appreciate you pointing that out. So that's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about our subject because I think it's very important. And Kathy, you're like cut off there. I don't know if you can, get in the thing. I don't mind if I'm out. So I'm on it all the time. But anyhow, so let's get started on our subject tonight. So who wants to go first? Shall we do ladies first? How about Judy? You want to go first?
All right, I'll go first. I just got a cat who's getting on the keyboard. And then I've got the little dog on my lap. So
okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about relationships now. Judy, you help you help couples and individuals as they go through divorce, and you help them with handling their children, being able to help their children adjust to being divorced and a divorced family, like restructuring their lives as a family. And so you really help them not only establish a relationship between each other, but also help them start walking hand in hand to embrace the new world that they're stepping forward in, and then also the relationships they have with their children. So you really play a lot of roles with regards to relationship building. So tell us a little bit about that and how we can get a hold of you.
Okay, well, I want to expand on it a little bit because I've been in the field since 1990 involving single parents, being a single parent, and then created an award-winning nonprofit that was honored in '99. But I go beyond, first of all, my specialty, an area that I really enjoy is helping people to navigate and really understand what they're getting into if they're going to go through the divorce process. Because I really believe try to work it out first, but then try to have a healthy divorce and knowing the different options where you don't have to get in the fight, which lessens the stress on everybody from that standpoint. And then I also help them with working in the best interest of the children. But the key thing that I do and expanding it on to individuals who don't need single parenting issues, but want to really build and grow from within, and always know how a relationship comes from yourself first. And if you can value yourself, accept yourself, and radiate positive energy out to others, any relationship is going to be more effective, productive, and you're going to have less stress and be a lot happier of a person.
Yeah, that's great advice. And Barry, you talk about that a lot throughout. And Barry Selby, he actually is kind of our favorite stand-in host. And when we need a partner in crime, we always call him, and he comes right on board with us and helps us with various different issues, because Barry, you're so knowledgeable about so many facets of life and being able to help us with the various different transitions. And like Judy was saying, that the most really, as you're growing and you're moving forward in your life, the most important relationship you have is with yourself, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, my work shifted a lot the last, I would say 2.5, 3 years, where my focus seems to be coming back to self-love first before you love somebody else, because everything out there starts with you. But I'm also but this is going even deeper than that, because so much is beneath the surface we haven't talked about. So it's time to sort of take away the veneer, so to speak, and really dive into the deeper work.
Yeah.
Well, that is so true. I just wanted to bring out something. I was talking to a gentleman today unexpectedly, and I was saying to him, and I'm very sure you can relate, well, focus on some positive things, because what you're saying to me, apparently you had some really difficult times, that stem from when you were growing up. And then the person goes into about, well, his father put him down and he's very anxious and he's trying to build a new entity. And I said to him, I said, see, I didn't even know you really had a problem with your father or anybody, but this is what I was picking up on. So it's really important that we really understand effectiveness of coping, but also how to communicate, because we communicate on so many different levels.
Well,
right.
And I would say that to me, the challenge really is that in some ways we have a 5-year-old driving our car. Like, we are the vehicle, but we have a younger consciousness that's running autopilot, because we learn things when we're very young and we never do anything to change that. So
Well,
again,
nobody points it out to us. We don't even know.
right. And that's the trap before you. So our dating life oftentimes is a reflection of how we were raised, the way our parents interacted or didn't interact, or the way that we were treated by them. We tend to end up repeating that with our adult relationships and go, why does that keep happening? So,
and it's like with your relationship, is that why do I keep remarrying the same person? Why did I do that without realizing it? And that's so important. Why so many people go through so many relationships or marriages, because they never found out what was different and what it was that was causing them to be attracted to that type of person.
exactly.
Yeah. And that's the same with dating, though, isn't it? And how about you, Dr. Johnny? You want
I was going to say, that can also happen in the opposite direction. If you have a parent's mother or father, whatever, that's, let's say, dominated your father, you see that, and you can use that as what you don't want in a marriage, you don't want in your personal life too. And that means a lot, because people sometimes, they don't know why they felt like Barry said, but if their parents were something that they didn't want to be, then they will be more conscious of saying, okay, I'm going to go through my life and I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to scream, I'm going to be very nice, very gentle. No matter what happens, I'm going to talk. These are things that maybe his parents or our parents didn't do.
That's true too, yeah. Because the thing is, especially for men, we tend to either want to emulate our fathers or reject them, be rebellious. So we can sometimes find ourselves mimicking what they did, or going, no way, on God's green earth am I going to do what they did. So I totally understand. Yeah, you're right.
Well, that's so true. And then the other part is you recognize it, but then what can I do, or how do I know to go about making those changes so I'm not like that? That's, I think, one of the hardest things for people to recognize. Okay, it's like you as a coach is, we give them the information, but then what do I do with it?
Right. The first step is awareness.
I will tell you, it's interesting you say this, because from the financial side, I actually opened my show by saying personal finances are not about the finances. Personal finances are actually about the emotions associated with your finances.
Right.
And all of what you're talking about plays in usually subconsciously. And as you explore that more, I'm not a life coach, but I feel sometimes like I am a life coach. But exactly what you're saying right now all plays in, and these are all things that we discover as we work through things. And it plays into spending habits, which evolve over time and also are not conscious and not understandable until you really start to become aware of them.
You'll feel not unconscious. You'll feel odd at I'm trying to say this. When you see things that your parents did that you don't want to do, you'll feel at ease. You won't feel at ease. You'll feel tense, anxious, and I think the more you feel that, the more you recognize that's something that you don't want to be, because for you it's uncomfortable and you don't want to be uncomfortable, and so you'll question yourself and you'll say, why am I feeling like this? Oh, maybe my dad was that way, my mom was that way. Same thing if a father, a husband and a wife put each other down, like maybe your father was put down by a dominating mother, and he would see that, recognize it, doesn't sit well with him, but through practice will learn that it's not right for him, and he'll change. And I think practice has a lot to do with it.
Well, and the one thing is that I think people don't realize is that you want to make all these different changes. The key thing is to work on one change, one area, focus on that, because it takes 3 weeks to make at least one change. If you try to say, I'm going to make all these changes right away, you're going to overwhelm yourself and trip over yourself in essence, and you're going to have a hard time doing it. Don't you agree, Mary?
Yeah, Judy, I think we're having a little bit of trouble with feedback coming from you. So just bear with us here on that. Okay. But yeah, well, we want to welcome Derek, our other host, to the show. Hey, Derek.
Hey, Derek.
Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing?
Good.
Hey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me?
This is the most we've had on the show before. It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're going to have some more people dropping in as we progress. So we're really talking about, at the beginning, Derek, we were talking about really kind of loving ourselves, understanding ourselves. building a relationship that we become comfortable with. And
Right.
yeah, so that's kind of where we're at now. And everybody's given some wonderful input, and it's really, really terrific. So anyone else want to comment? I don't want to step on anyone. How about you, Kathy?
I knew you were going to do that.
Because
Hey,
she
bro.
said,
Hey, bro. Come on, say something, bro.
yeah.
Well, are you? Let me,
Real simple, Dr. Johnny. You got to be who you are. You got to be comfortable with who you are. You have to accept that. And if you don't like what you are, then you have to be willing to change it.
That's
And
right.
that's all there is to say.
And if somebody else doesn't like who you are, what? You don't worry about it. You say goodbye. See you
That's
later.
right.
Adios.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and I just want to point out too that Hirsch has got a lot of really great guests that come on his show, and they talk about so many different things. And I'm amazed sometimes at the wisdom behind some of these shows that we do. You know, I mean, we get these glimmers of wonderful tidbits, and it's just amazing that it is so good that we can learn from these and build relationships. So with each show that we do, I know Judy, you have your shows on. Your shows are generally audio. We do your shows on the live streaming radio. And so we have a lot of shows there. And then we also have some of them we're going to be putting up on your video. So we've got some really, really cool things. But let's talk a little bit as we begin to make that transition in our lives. And we're starting to step forward and we realize that we have to make some changes. What would you suggest would be a way for us to be able to start kind of getting out and meeting people and starting to do different things? Anybody want to throw in something on that one?
I think doing something that you enjoy, something that you like, getting to meet people, meetups, for example, meetups will meet people that like what you do, or maybe it'll interest you into doing something else. I think that's really important because something like meetups you'll introduce yourself or somebody will introduce themselves to you. And from there, they'll take you, introduce you to someone else. That someone else, the next time they come back, they'll remember to say, oh, your name is Kathy, right? And yeah, they'll say that is, and this is Bobby, and this is Judy, and that's how it's all. When I went to meetups the first time, I was nervous. I didn't know any. What did I know? But we had one person that did help me. He introduced me to different people. And 2 years later, I can honestly say, I think I probably have about 150 close friends. And that's where you want to be. Everybody's afraid to take their foot, step it forward, and get going. But you know what? Just don't even worry about it.
I tell people, especially if they have very little self-worth, it's like find something that is positive that you know you're good at and put that foot forward first.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I was going to say too, one thing about making friends with other individuals is relatability, right? And when you can relate to someone else maybe with a particular interest or something like that, that's a great stepping stone, isn't it? It's a great step off to be able to form conversations, be able to start connecting with someone. And so to be able to relate to someone having the same interests, that's very valuable. I think it's very important. And then you grow from there, right? Then you start learning about someone and whether they are really good in your life or not. So let's talk a little bit about if you're on the fence about we got a comment here. Let me just see what we got here.
So while you're reading the comment, I just want to say that when I got divorced, probably about 6-7 months after, I wrote a blog that got picked up. And what I said in that blog was like, my life was over. It died an excruciating death. And then I really saw the opportunity. And the original name of the blog was Divorce is Awesome, right? And then people advised I probably shouldn't call it that, so I did change the name to Perspective is Everything. But what I realized, the opportunity is very often you've lost who you are, and you've lost what you forgot what you enjoyed in your life. And if you step back and you prioritize and remember who you are, and you reconnect with yourself, which is one of the things we were saying earlier, the world is so open and so much opportunity for you. You can connect with friends, connect with yourself, bring joy into your life. There's that void of negativity is no longer there once you through it all.
Right.
Now let's figure out how to build the life you really want. And I think that's an enormous opportunity and a blessing in many ways.
And when you meet these people, you form little, I hate to say the word clique, let's just say little groups where after the meetups, you've introduced yourself to many people, then you've got this little group that you go off and go to the movies with, or maybe you'll go to the beach with. And that in itself increases the chance of meeting more people. And you, by that time, you're not worried about it anymore.
You got it, Johnny.
So, Derek, you're kind of quiet tonight. Let's hear from you.
Well, I've been listening and observing and, getting to hear a couple different people, understand their perspectives and personalities, etc. But I agree with what is being said. And I must say, Johnny, meetups are really great. I recommend that to people all the time, especially if you're in a place where you don't know many people. Find something that interests you and start going to a meetup group, and next thing you know, you get exposed to different people and you never know what will happen. So that's very important. I also took note of the love yourself bit, which to me is something that is very important. A lot of us though don't even know, never took time to discover who we are, and loving becomes difficult if you don't know them. So one of the things that you have to do is really become aware of who you are and learn who you are as a person. And I would say this particularly of people who have been in long relationships, been in marriages for a long time, and they get kind of lost in that marriage piece, that relationship piece, and they forgot as an individual. And now you're coming out of that space, you have to relearn who you are as a person. Understand who you are. Get to know your positive, your negative, your neutral, whatever. And love who you are. And then you can now become more confident again and start moving on. So I think those two things are extremely important. Be yourself and exposing yourself to other people.
Some of the problems I think people have is we say we need to find who we are. We need to love ourselves. But you know what? That's harder to do than it is to say, because a lot of people would say, well, how do I do that? How do I know how to love myself? I love myself. I wouldn't do any harm to myself or something like that. But they don't know. Does anybody have a simple way of telling them how to learn about themselves?
Let's point that to you, because you always have some good tips on that. So can you share some tips with us about how do you turn it into yourself and kind of, and I know it's a big question. Do you have something to say on that?
I do have something to say.
Oh, wait. Kathy has something to say. Wait, everybody. Stop the. Okay, so we'll do Kathy and then we'll do Barry afterwards.
So I think first of all, you need to just forget about needing somebody else and just find what you're interested in.
Somebody have a TV on or something that could be affecting.
Yeah. So there's
So now they can't hear
it's
me.
either a TV that's on or it's an echo. One or the other, because you
Echo?
can hear it.
Who's echoing? Are we echoing?
No, when somebody talks, it sounds like there's something in the background, like it's going on.
Like garble. It's like a garble noise.
Yeah.
Okay, only one person talk at the time. Let's try
Well,
that.
I'm seeing a clean-shaven guy in the background there. I don't know whether the noise is coming from him.
From whom?
A clean-shaven guy between Sissy and Cathy.
Hey, you're just jealous because I got the babes. Dude.
Oh my!
find me.
But before we, I just want to say
We can
one.
tell you a lot of stories, but that's,
No, Kathy has a point to make.
yes, Kathy has a point. All right, go ahead.
Okay, Kathy, let's hear you.
So first of all, to become yourself, to find yourself, first of all, you have to just forget about, trying to meet somebody that's going to blend with you. Try to just find what you like, what you're passionate about in life, and just, dwell on that for a while. And eventually somebody may have the same interests and you'll have that, but, a relationship with them, I don't know. But, and if not, don't even worry about that and spend your social time. Go ahead and do your social time but keep your hobbies or your passions and just continue with that, because you're finding yourself when you're doing that. That's what I think.
But, just on that, and I know that that Barry probably has a lot to say about this, but but I have a plaque.
You get on the stool. You get on the
I have a plaque hanging on my wall, and it says, "Life is not about finding yourself, but life is about creating yourself." And I always point to that, because to me, it's not about finding who you are. It's about creating who you are. It's about creating the next you. I have recreated myself on a couple of occasions well, and I believe in that principle of creating yourself. And that's what I have to say about that. So, Barry, I know you were waiting.
Yeah, I've often said you need to step into yourself. Because so often we are surrounded by other people, and then we're people pleasers, and we're not really looking at what really pleases us. And Barry, we've had this conversation many, many times about stepping into yourself, owning yourself, and being able to reflect and go forward. Now, a lot of times, Barry, we've talked many times about, being centered, meditation, those type of things. And I think that's also, understanding your passions and making friends and going out and doing those kind of things that you enjoy. But there's also internal work that needs to be done. And so you want to share a little bit of that with us?
A couple of things, just a few things.
Okay.
It's funny because some things that were touched on here, I did a video series with a friend called Cracking the Codependency Code, because for many of us, we've got our loving tied to a codependent relationship with other people. So self-love is one of those keys that unlocks the door so we can actually love ourselves first. Because one of the things we do when we go out after being freshly single is we're looking to be filled up by some other person again, because we've felt that gap in our lives. So if you take the time to actually spend time with yourself and appreciating who you are in your hobbies, in your personal life, in your meetup groups, wherever, but always coming back to yourself first, it makes you less needy of other people, which is a good sign, by the way, because if you're being needy for somebody else, they will tend to be running for the door as soon as they can. Let's just say from personal experience, I've driven many people away when I was in that space. So being less needy is one of those ways. And by loving yourself first, by filling your own battery, so to speak, you don't need to be charged up by somebody else. And so ways of doing that, I actually have a self-love meditation I sell on my website. It's a guided audio meditation I have, because it can be a simple practice, but it's a door opener to a deeper place. And things like keeping our own agreements with ourselves and other people is a key way of building our self-esteem, because if we keep making agreements we don't keep, if we keep breaking agreements that we don't keep, then we'll find ourselves being more and more depleted because we don't trust ourselves anymore. So that's another component of self-love. It comes back to, do we take care of ourselves by keeping our word, by not overcommitting to things, by promising we'll take care of ourselves first and not doing too much for other people. The other part also is that, again, back to the thing about not needing other people, is also not looking to get things from other people, because it's hard to trust other people if they don't come through what they offer to deliver. So loving ourselves first is a multitude of things, but it starts really with coming home to who we are and taking care of who we are. That reinvention away is almost like saying, I deserve more respect for myself by respecting myself first, because how you treat yourself is how other people will treat you as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Totally agree.
We have a great comment here by Ken. So Whitney Houston says, love thyself is the greatest love of all. And absolutely. That's beautifully said. And I know that both Barry and Coach Judy you help people with these situations, being able to move forward, make that transition into really stepping forward into your life. So if anyone wants to contact them, please do. You can go right on our website, and their information should be there. We'll make sure that it's all there for you. Judy hosts a show with us, but Barry, we need to make a special page for you because you're our special host that jumps in. But let's talk about passion. And when we're going to talk about passion, we're going to bring someone else on board.
Hey, how's it going?
Hip and Humble. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how are you guys?
Hi.
Good, and you? How are you?
Hey.
We're doing great. Thanks
Doing
for having us
well.
on.
Yes. Now, Hip and Humble, we have this terrific show. It's called Hip and Humble Antique Show. And it's a mom and son show, and we love that. So
Yeah.
it's great having you on board. So tell us a little bit about, we're talking about relationships, but you all did a great show about collectibles and about like if you had different collections and things like that. Those are kind of relationship building type of things, because I was told one time as you move through your life, you should always have some sort of collection, right?
Well,
Absolutely.
it's kind of a nostalgia thing. I think in the episode we even talked about the kind of relationships that we make with not only the people who collect those things, but the relationships that the collectors have to the other people that they collect from and the things that they actually collect.
And also that sometimes your collections move on. So a lot of times I get very focused on collecting one thing, and I'll collect a whole bunch of them, and I'll love it and I'll enjoy it. And then one day I'll go, you know what? Somebody else might want this, and you let it go.
So let me ask you a question. What's the most romantic collectible?
Oh,
My
Ooh.
car.
Man,
Romantic.
Amazing.
I think for me personally, I think lockets. There's a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one.
There are a lot of really intricate and beautiful lockets, especially from the Victorian era and just after the Industrial Revolution. And I'll say that because even back then, a lot of the jewelry was still handmade. I mean, the Industrial Revolution definitely gave them a
there
lot.
was a lot more attention to detail and a lot
Correct.
more, I won't say, well, a lot more pride, and it took a lot more to make things than it does now. Now you can get a mold and just make 500 of them. Back then, if you had a beautiful brooch or a hairpiece or a purse or whatever, you're the only one in the world that has that because it was handmade, it was hand
Absolutely.
forged, it's carved or whatever. So there's a lot of beauty in that.
Another thing for me that's a really romantic collectible, I think, is a journal. But I think that's a little more intimate and personal.
Journals, journals are hard to come by sometimes,
Definitely.
but yeah, they can be.
Especially
I was thinking, how about perfume bottles? I thought they are so pretty,
They are
perfume
pretty.
bottles.
they're beautiful.
We've got a lot of perfume bottles, several of
Yeah.
them, and they're gorgeous.
They're absolutely
Like
beautiful.
a man and a woman, what they could collect together.
Oh gosh.
Well, paintings, of course.
Well, yeah, I collect paintings, and I love paintings. Marbles. My other son
Marble,
and
I
I.
like marbles.
Oh yeah, you guys did a show on marbles.
That's right.
If anybody wants to listen to the shows, please go into our WGSN-DB Going Solo Network.
I was just looking
page.
at marbles the other day.
Yeah,
I love
they
them.
did a
Yeah.
they did a great
Yeah.
show on marbles.
Oh, I got a good one. Mark.
Okay.
What?
You know what's a good collectible for
Which one?
couples? Is back seats of cars.
Oh yeah. Actually, my husband.
memories.
Did you think you were going to get something sensitive out of this?
Well, no,
Those are expensive.
my husband and I actually stopped into an Airstream dealership just because we'd never seen them before, and they had like the back of an Airstream they had turned into a sofa in their lobby, and I was like, "That's awesome."
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
you know,
pretty cool.
I'm envious of the bench seats that were before my time, but
Yeah, that was before your time.
Buddy, I said back seats, not front seats.
yeah.
An old 70 Caddy.
Oh, there you go.
My first car was a 1977 canary yellow Cadillac. It was my grandfather's.
He
Man.
knows.
Lot of
Don't
memories.
you wish you still had
Yeah,
that?
a lot of memories. They could find me anywhere. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of people with canary yellow Cadillacs.
Is
And that-
he's your son?
This is my son, yes.
You better watch what you're saying.
She claims me sometimes.
Mm.
Huh?
I said she claims me sometimes.
Sometimes. I will today.
Tell us now how we can get a hold of you. You know, where are all of your shows? I know your shows are on our station.
Yes.
They're all
Our
places,
shows,
but you have shop. Yeah.
Mhm.
Tell
Yeah,
us.
so our shows are on your station, of course, and you can go to through the WGN-DB website. Sorry,
We have a hard time.
I
We're
get those
having a
letters
hard time
mixed
with
up.
letters.
But
That's okay. We'll put it up for you.
perfect. So yeah, you can go to the website, and we also have our simplecast.com/hip-and-humble.simplecast.com, and you can find you can find links to all of our social media and also our Etsy store where we sell a lot of those perfume bottles that we were talking about, and a lot of other little knickknacks and collectibles like figurines, Doug bottles, really really cool.
Yeah, a lot of Doug bottles.
Mhm.
We need to do a show on Doug bottles because I don't think people understand. It's like when I put the description Doug bottle, I'm thinking, I bet they don't have a clue. Unless you know what it is, you're probably like, that's just a dirty old bottle. But
No, but a lot of people
You know, I'm like,
collect them that
that's-
way, and
well,
they're actually really interesting.
it's like barbecue. You know, barbecue is a religion. If you say it's this way, that is the way it is. Somebody else can say it's that. And Doug bottles, if you clean a Doug bottle, the purists are going to go, you just runt it. And if you do clean it, you know, or if you don't clean it, then the other people are like, that is the dirtiest thing I've ever seen.
Mhm.
So, you know,
But the other places you can find us are on Instagram, of course. We're on hipin.humble on Instagram. That's our handle, hipin.humble. We're also on Facebook, and
you come by the shop if you're in Fredericksburg, Virginia, or Bethany, Oklahoma.
yeah, we
What a
have
place.
we have two stores
Where?
in person.
Vicksburg, what a place. You're right on the main road, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Right on the main
I know
street.
where you
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
Yeah,
then
right.
Bethany, Oklahoma. I'll be down there hopefully in the next week or so.
Mm-hmm. And of
So-
course, we also release all of our episodes a little early to all of our Patreon subscribers. So that's patreon.com/hipandhumble. But yeah, those are all the places you can find us. We always love everybody that follows us and gives us feedback. I'm really active on there. I'm on it every day, and I talk back and forth constantly. So if there's anything you want to hear about, history-wise, material-wise, antiques-wise, or if you just want to talk and say, hey, I'm there. I promise.
Yeah. I personally love your shows. I think they're just awesome. Now, I just want to share with everyone that, of course, your mom, Kimberly, here is on the show, but your dad is on the shows.
Wow.
Your brother is also on the shows.
That's
So
right.
it's really getting to be a family affair.
It
Yeah.
really has been. Yeah.
We're trying to, I have 3 sons, so we're trying to get the youngest one on there, but we gotta talk him into it. And,
Yeah, we got to ease
and my
into
mother
it.
will actually be up here Thanksgiving, so we're probably getting Nana on.
Oh,
Mhm.
that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
What a nice family.
'Cause
Yeah.
my mother and I are the ones that actually started doing the antiques and stuff. So my father, well, my dad had died, and of course you're kind of going through stuff and whatnot. And one of my mom's friends said, hey, you know what? We went to an antique booth to get rid of some stuff. And Mom said, well, there's really nothing we want to get rid of, but you know, we have this horrible habit of going to auctions. So it was a really great way to be able to buy stuff at auction that we love, but then go ahead and pass it on.
Mhm.
So Mom and I started doing it there in Oklahoma. And then eventually Mom came out here and they found another booth, and then we did that. And then Aaron's like, hey, let's do a podcast, or let's do all this. And I'm like, okay. So it's just kind of, each family member has kind of taken it and snowballed it into something else.
You know,
And that's great.
we have a lot of fun. That's really
We
what it
do.
is. We
Yeah.
have a lot of fun, and you know, it brings us closer together. And I think, you know, we love it so much, and it really is our passion. And being able to share that with everybody is just so exciting. It's very titillating.
It is. And sometimes I worry that people are like, I can't believe that you can talk an hour and a half on butter molds, but I love it.
Oh, yeah, I remember that show too. That was really good. I'm thinking, what is she talking about? Butter molds. Butter molds.
Butter molds
molds.
are actually pretty cool.
They're
actually
Yeah,
pretty
very
cool.
cool. Very
They
cool.
look like big stamps.
They were,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a lot of people call them cookie stamps. Now they're cookie stamps. Back then they
Yeah.
were, you know, obviously for butter, and that was kind of the start of advertising for
Yeah,
that
that was one of the
industry,
first ways that people ever marketed.
and ways and measures for it. Be
Yeah,
able to,
because before then they didn't have any like brands or things like that. Things were just labeled as what they were, like bags of sugar or feed or, you know, what have you.
well, it snowballs in. You've got the train, and so they could actually trade stuff across the country and
Mhm.
whatnot. But the Amish were primarily the ones I always think of with the butter molds. They created the butter molds, because they wanted to make their table look nice. They wanted something pretty on their table. I mean, that was pretty much the long and short of it. So
Very cool. Very cool. It's a lot of unique things, and I collect spoons. Just so you know, I do have a
I got her
collection.
Savannah
I got my
spoon
Savannah
yesterday.
spoon. Yes, so I have fun with that. So, but yeah, everyone should have some, some of your pets. And collectibles was always a fun thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, collectibles are very beautiful. I mean, and it's amazing how many of these things are come from such humble beginnings.
You know what's funny is I don't think you actually collect anything.
I collect baseball cards. Actually.
I think that my boys spend more time trying to get me to get rid of what I collect that they don't collect.
I know.
think that's their hobby.
You talk about going into the garage and going into the basement and looking at all the things that are there.
Hey, you know what? It's almost there, but
we're getting there.
Raising three sons in a military family, we didn't have a lot of time. I'm a quilter, and that's what I do. I love to quilt, and I do all of that. But, for years and years, I couldn't do what I wanted to do because, I'm raising three sons, and we just, being military, you move into a new place, nobody. So you're it.
Oh, yeah.
And so my husband was deployed a lot. So I basically was a fabric collector for a while. Fabric under control. So I can...
What's funny with that is I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. I think it made us closer as a family, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because whenever you go to a new place and you only have the people around you, it does bring you closer. It forces you to become friends with your brothers.
It's a different life.
So
it's a different life.
Got to be the anticipation of what you find.
Is it something that you would recommend for couples to do, or lovers, or whatever? That they should start collecting things together. Do you think it could be something that brings them closer and binds them closer together?
Absolutely. I mean, my husband and I, a couple weekends ago, we went up to Pennsylvania, and my boys were like, "Oh, you're going up to pick?" And I said, "We're really not." I said, "We're going up because we want to spend the weekend together." Yeah, we ended up at some flea markets and found a few other things, but it was relaxing. It was nice. We got our time together, and so yeah, I mean, you can collect things, or you can just say you're collecting things and go out there and eat the great food. They got some great food out there too.
Not only are you spending time together whenever you're collecting these things, but you're creating a memory. Like you're bonding over this material object that's constantly going to remind you of that time that you spent together with your partner. My wife and I, since we've been married, we've taken vacations, and every place that we've gone to take a vacation, we've collected different things from those places. And going back and looking at those things, it reminds me of the happiness of that time, and it reminds her of the happiness of that time, and it does bring us closer together, and it gives us that intimacy of shared moments that no one else has but her and I. And I think that collecting things in that way has that kind of intimate beauty that you couldn't get.
Well, that's kind of how he grew up. Was my family traveled quite a bit. They were missionaries and did a lot of relief work around the world my entire life. So, and I was told, so when you travel, I said, try to pick up art from wherever it is you are.
Absolutely.
Some kind of piece of art. I mean, if it's a picture, great. If it's a blanket,
if it's a
spoon, whatever. It's something like that.
So anytime you have an argument with your wife, you bring out something that you collected and say, "Honey, remember this."
Yeah.
We don't argue too much. We're in our second year.
But on the rare occasion that you do have an argument.
Yeah.
Ken's right though. You do. You form memories, and
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, later on in life, and you'll look at something and say, "You know what? I remember when we went down to Smith Mountain Lake and saw all this stuff." And I mean, it's great. It's great.
I'm one of those people too. I hang everything on the wall. I mean, everything on the wall. So everything in my house has got a story. But I love that because when I walk down the walls and the hall of my house and stuff, I have all my memories are right here on the wall, and I like that.
Well, and
So-
and you know, pictures are beautiful and pictures are fantastic, and they remind you of the time. But an object or something that you collect
I
together,
frame and hang that too. You know
yeah,
that?
absolutely. But an object or something you collect in that moment, it kind of it adds an element of mystery and intrigue to it, because you have to think about, oh, you know, I remember when we picked that up. You know, this was in this
Right.
place. You know, I've known people that have collected dirt from all the different countries that
Oh,
they've
yeah.
been to. Just to say, oh, you know, I have soil from.
But that's
all the
illegal, so
it is,
y'all
so
don't
don't do that.
That is illegal. But
I think shot glasses would work a little better than that.
You might be
Yeah.
right.
yeah. Well, you know what? And it's funny because sitting right here beside us is this huge abalone shell. And when my husband and I were first married, we were stationed at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, and we went to the beach, and they had these big shells out there, and I was like, oh, I love these. And you know, there was one huge one that was like down in this tide pool, and he refused to go down there, dive down there and get that shell. I mean, I got all these other, and they're just beautiful. But that every time we see that shell, we laugh about it.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, I'm never diving in that cold water for that shell. Now, little did I know, I don't know, 5 or 6 years later, I have one that I keep by my sink upstairs for sponges and whatnot. Apparently, it was illegal to take those, but I didn't know that at the time, and there was no sign. So,
We're a bit of rebels over
sorry,
there. but-
California, I took your shell. But
That's a great way of getting a relationship going.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really is. It really is. I mean, that's something that they have forever. And
well, we've
that,
been married 29 years now, so
yeah,
we haven't killed each other
almost
at all.
30.
I know.
Well, it's great. It's so nice having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming in. We have Paul here with us too. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, how's
This
everybody
is Paul Holbert. He's the literary
Paul.
vet. Hey.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Nice crowd. Aram, I was listening to you a little while ago.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was listening to some of your stories and kind of interesting, just like when you and I spoke. So it seems like you're still at it, right?
I try to be. You know, I think you're a very big inspiration for me. I appreciated that interview we did. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, like I told you, you were my first Submariner on the show.
Yeah, we're an
so
odd
that
breed.
Yeah, I mean that was well, I wouldn't say an odd breed. I guess you could say overall, in many ways, veterans are odd breeds, and
That's fair.
in some cases anyway, and that probably includes myself. But yeah, it's good to see everyone. I've been listening to a little bit of the show, and Cece, thank you for asking me to come in this evening.
Oh, it's so nice to have you. You know, we're talking about relationships tonight, and your show certainly does that. You do the Veterans Corner show, and you really connect with the veterans, share their life's journey and experiences, and, you know, really connect with what they're doing today. But you also share, you know, great tips for them, you know, if they're going through any struggles or any certain things that they might be experiencing, where they can reach out and get different services. So you do a great show. And then also you're an author yourself. So tell us a little bit about yourself, those that may not have listened to your show, so we can share a little bit about what you do.
Well, I mean, I was a career Army guy, and I know Aram spent his time in the Navy, but I was a career Army guy. I actually went in after finishing my associate's degree and spent most of my career in the nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare field, and that in and of itself was interesting enough. But you know, when I first decided to join, I was like a lot of veterans, because people join for many different reasons. And, you know, not everyone that goes in, you know, some of them look at, you know, this is a way for me to mature, get a start in life. Some of them look at it, you know, this is a way for me to be able to use the GI Bill and get a start in college. And when I went in, it was actually, I guess you could say it was half curiosity and half tribute to my father, who was killed in an Army training accident when I was 5. So for me, it was almost a matter of curiosity as well. So I had no idea how long I was going to stay. I went in for an enlistment, and then 21 years later, I finally decided, yep, yeah, I guess time for me to go. So it was definitely an interesting career. And when I talk to some of the veterans on the show, it's a career that you could say, and rightfully so, it's not for everyone, because when you spend time in the military or even a career in the military, you learn to sleep, eat, and exist in every kind of condition there is. So sometimes it's a challenge. Often it's a challenge. But I enjoyed my time in the military. I thought it was a very, very worthwhile start to my life and first half of my life. The only thing I will say now that I share with some of my guests, and we talk about it, and Cece, that I also, at the end of the show, talk to my guests about some of the services available, especially for disabled vets and veterans who are suffering from PTSD. As I was diagnosed with PTSD about 2.5 years ago, and it took a long struggle, a long, hard struggle, a lot of conversations from my wife, occasionally a slap in the back of the head from my wife. And she finally told me, honey, you need to get some help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. And so finally I did. And I'm dealing with a lot of those issues, and I try to talk about those issues with the veterans that I have on the show. And at the end of the show, again, share information that will be useful to the veterans watching the show, where they can get help, whether it's from the VFW, the DAV, the VA, or disabled American veterans. So we try to pass all that information on to them. I will just say this. One of the trends that I see lately that has disturbed me, I said a few minutes ago that not everyone's made for a career or time in the military, and that's just how each person is different. I mean, we are a nation of different personalities and types of people. So I just want to take this opportunity to share with the veterans who may be listening out there. I've seen there's a swell of pride in serving in the military, but I've seen a trend that kind of bothers me, and I just kind of want to say something to our veteran listeners. Being a veteran, whether you spend time in or you're retired as from the military, doesn't make you any better than anyone else. Might make you different, but it doesn't make you better, because we are all here together. We're all in this together, and I see T-shirts going on sale, with veterans that can buy, that talks about, well, you can talk about playing Army, but I actually did, or, I have a DD 214. That doesn't mean anything. What means something is who you are and what you do with your veteran experience and your career. It's not what you can wear on a T-shirt, and it's not trying to separate yourself from someone else and act like you're better or above someone else simply because you spend time in the military. So, thank you, Cece. I just want to take a second to throw that out there, because that's something I see now that starts to bother me, because as veterans, that's not what we're about, and I don't think that's what we should be about.
Yeah. Well, also, I think it's very special. Veterans, they tend to have this very bonding, united with each other, which is a wonderful, very strong, wonderful bond. And but you're also taking that bond and that connection further, because you're really moving into your community and connecting with your community. And we've got a couple great, and maybe you could share with us just quickly, you've got a couple great sponsors on your show that have backed you, supported you, and and you're continuing to build relationships within your community to support the veterans. So do you want to share real quickly regarding them?
Yeah, I mean, I am very fortunate in that respect. I've got a couple of businesses here in the Northern Virginia area that support me wholeheartedly in the show. It just so happens Nationwide IT, and you can see the information on the screen. The owner of Nationwide IT is actually a retired Army veteran himself, and he has successfully, and I hope to have him on the show later because he has some stories to tell of a very successful, ethical business owner who's built his own business. And you know, he's been 100% supportive, being a veteran himself. So you know, I thank CK for that on a regular basis whenever I have a chance to talk with him. I also have a sponsor, Quest Jewelers here in Merrifield near Fairfax. Pete and Juan Tane, they are wholeheartedly in support of the show. I usually send the guys the tapes of the show because they're pretty busy and don't get a chance on Thursday evenings to watch live. So I will normally send them the recording, the link where the recording is. But both of these businesses have been so supportive in what we're trying to do in the community. And I hope in a show coming up soon, I'm also going to have a veteran here from our town near Manassas, who's a Vietnam veteran, and he actually runs the big farmers market here in our town. So he's retired, but that's what he does. So yeah, we're trying to branch out in the community and make contacts. You know, I go around talking to people. I go into town whenever I can. So we do try to make contact here in the local area, not only just to get sponsors, but just to talk to people, and of course to locate other veterans to be on the show.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful what you do, and building those relationships is really so valuable, so important. And as we're building relationships with people, we're making friendships, you know, that can last a lifetime. So it's pretty awesome. Just like all of the people that are on here tonight, we've all become friends, and it's just a really truly wonderful experience that you connect through business, and you connect through joining the ideas, so to speak, but then you become friends and it's like really cool. So so it's a great experience. So
sorry, if I can just say, Paul, thank you firstly for your service. Second, one of the things I run into is how many veterans don't know what benefits are out there for themselves that they can take advantage of. I deal with the senior population quite a bit, and there are so many veterans that do not understand the benefits that they can get related to at-home care, non-medical care, and things like that. When you bring it up to them, it's like you're an absolute lifesaver. But these are available to all of them, and you know they've certainly been rewarded. They should be rewarded, should I say, for what they do for our country, and they just don't know how to take advantage of them.
Yeah, Hirsch, you know, you're absolutely correct. In fact, I will give you a prime example. I've got a younger brother who spent 8 years in the Air Force. Now, of course, I always tease him and say that the Air Force is a quasi-military organization, which is the running joke. Yeah, what's that, Aaron?
I said you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, you got to be a little careful.
Yeah.
We're retired Air Force.
Yeah, my dad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
I know.
But so it's always the joke between me and my brother. And you know, I worked for a time here in Washington for an old C-5 Galaxy pilot, lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and you know, he used to always tease me. He said, you know, Paul, he said, I never understood why you crazy Army guys would jump out of a perfectly good airplane. And I used to tell him, I say, Vince, that's because we knew you were at the cockpit flying and it was time to go. So, you know, we always had that banter back and forth. But,
you know, I remember sitting with my husband because they have the wives come in for some of the out processing and out briefing. And that was one of the big ones, was the medical, and going through the veterans and going through all of the different services and things like that. But they don't cover everything, or they'll say, you know what, you need to go call this person or call this person and do this. They don't really give you like a list of what's there. And then when you call the VA and you try to go, okay, can I get this service or that service? They're all something different every time.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating. And I think
the VA is so inundated, especially over the last few years. But I was actually going to respond to what Hirsch said too. You know, my younger brother has spent all that time in the Air Force. For some reason, he listened to one of the folks at a mortgage company that told him he could not use his VA loan certificate.
Really?
And finally, yeah, he finally started looking, and he got a hold of a home builder who was looking at some new homes. And he told that to the home builder. And this guy told him, he said, look, he said, he's crazy. So he
Yeah.
asked my brother for his information. And of course, I didn't know about this. My brother never mentioned it. But he asked my brother for his information. By the next day, he had already had approval for my brother's VA loan
Oh
certificate.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
So,
it's that easy.
yeah, there are people out there, a lot of people out there that'll help when the veterans don't know. And that's why I told Cece it was important for me to share those little tidbits at the end of my show
Absolutely.
each Thursday when I do it. Because you're right, it's important to let these folks know what's there.
Well, because you do end up getting so incredibly frustrated with a lot of it that you just give up.
Well, yeah, I think that's the general mentality. I know getting out of the Navy, we had to go through it's basically a MEPS course.
Yeah.
They give us different courses on what to do. It's out briefings and so on. But that wasn't always available, and it doesn't actually cover everything. Now the people there, I will say, were fantastic, and the people in the op briefing meetings, they're
I think they do. I think they
resourceful.
do as great a job as you could possibly do. I mean, there is so much information though that does get missed. So I mean, for someone like you to be able to go through and kind of fill in those gaps, I think is awesome. Because there's just a ton of stuff that gets overlooked. Or like my husband, who was a flyer, he doesn't hear real well anymore. After 15 plus years on an aircraft, your hearing goes. So most of the time I'm there with him. I hear, he hears, and sometimes we compare notes and they come up the same and sometimes they don't. So it's nice to have somebody that you can ask or go back, give you some help.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Part of the problem, I think, with society is that you think the person you're talking to really knows all the information. It's like we, as growing up, we think our parents know it all, so we look to them and don't think to question it. Whereas as adults, I think we know today that you've got to talk to more than one person, like go 2 or 3 people to really see what the information is that you're getting is accurate. I think people forget about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, a lot of what I've learned.
For these things, the idea of the mortgage, if there's a pre-funded mortgage already, then your certificate's not eligible. If you pay off a mortgage, it instantly becomes eligible again. So you've got to understand how to navigate some of this as well.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he had never used his because he was told that he was ineligible. Yeah. So once they looked into it, he was able to pull it right through, and he was able to use it to buy the home. So, but for me, it's been different in that a lot of what I've learned, unfortunately, has been through experience because, when I retired at first, I had a very good friend of mine who was a sergeant major who actually had retired and ran the transition center there in Germany where I retired out of. So he was, he was a good friend of mine, and he made sure that I took care of everything. But once I retired, a few years later, once my body started falling apart, that's when I learned everything, by doing. Because I learned to navigate through the VA and their disability compensation system, all the testing, all of the other things that you had to go through. So I actually learned that on my own. So I try to share a lot of that experience with the veterans through my show, because I think there's nothing better than firsthand experience, and I definitely have had quite a bit of it over the last 10 years.
I think that's a good place for a woman to go in the service. I think she's going to make some connections in the service. Don't you?
That's possible.
Make some what?
Connections.
Yeah.
Connections.
Oh yeah.
Making connections.
Right? Absolutely.
We've got friends all over the world, and that's what's nice, I think, with the military is you've got friends everywhere. And I will say, when you meet someone else that is military, there's kind of almost an underlying trust you immediately have with that person versus somebody that's, you know, just civilian.
Well, it's
that
because you have a shared experience. Misery
Right.
misery loves company.
Right. I mean, that's, you know,
yeah, that's a good point.
military.
With anything is that if you find commonality with somebody, you do form that bond. And if you get it with a group, you're automatically going to have that bond with one another if you continue to interact with one another.
Yeah.
Oh, I had one other point in levity to make about the services there. Earlier, we were talking about the differences between the branches. And I think the best analogy I ever heard was if the military were given a task to erect a building, the Marines would send 50 guys. The Army would send 200. The Navy wouldn't do it because they'd be out on the water. And the Air Force would hire a contractor.
Yeah, I've heard so many of those analogies. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, Cece, let me just share one last thing if I can.
Yes, please do.
And you know, Aram, and you're talking about the bond that you share, and I understand, Dr. Johnny, you're an Air Force veteran yourself, right?
Yep.
So, you know, one thing I always found that kind of humbled me is living in Northern Virginia and then, of course, working in Washington, D.C. I occasionally see some of our older World War II veterans still there, albeit most of them are in wheelchairs and things of that nature. And Cece will tell you on my last show, I actually had a lady on who came on whose father is still alive. He's a World War II veteran, but he unfortunately is suffering from dementia, so he could not do the show. But she came on with pictures and stories about her father, and we told her father's story through her. But the interesting thing is, whenever I see those guys on the streets in DC, of course, you know, we're not down there now because of what's going on. I always made it a point to walk over to them, speak to them, you know, tell them how much we appreciated what they did. And, you know, I have to tell you, after I did that for one of the gentlemen and walked away, his son came over to me before I got out of earshot and told me, he says, you know, he said, I want to thank you for that, because he said, you just made his day. So, you know, I always try to remember those folks who came before us and what they did, because it's because of people like that that we're able to live the way we do. So, you know, even as a veteran myself, I'm always grateful.
I do know that with the World War II veterans, they have the angel flights that come in, and yet there are a lot of volunteer opportunities there. So I've had my younger two sons have both volunteered and with the World War II vets, taking them around DC and whatnot. But I think anybody can volunteer to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're looking for a really great day and a really humbling day, that is a good way to spend it, to be a volunteer with those angel flights.
Yeah. What you're talking about, like that experience, that connection, that's what that kind of connection with people builds character, and it builds trust within yourself to the community at large. And I think in a really big way, it helps society progress. And it helps relationships progress, not only in that man's life, but also in your own life, because you can look back at that and be appreciative of the things that you gave him through that small connection.
Yeah. And then I have to tell you, I mean, I have people that come up in our community and around the area all the time. And they, you know, if I have my hat on or something like that, you know, a lot of people will come up to you and talk to you, say thank you for you. I mean, complete strangers. And, you know, it's still for me a little awkward, a little embarrassing, I guess you could say. But, you know, you're very appreciative of those people that do that. And, you know, I think I always will be. But again, you know, you always try to make it a point to remember those who came before you and what they did.
I think that's what's nice with our antiques and stuff, is we see what came before and what we have now, kind of where things came from.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what
World
really
War II antiques are very popular.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what inspired us to start. You know, being able to make that connection from the past and have it be relevant in the present.
You see,
Yeah. Well, you know, this is very interesting. And I like the idea that we talk about, you know, our history. We talk about connection with our veterans, you know, the support that we have. We can talk about, you know, connecting, you know, as friends and also, you know, really trying to better ourselves, making ourselves a little bit whole and to be able to continue on building relationships in a very positive way, which is very, very important. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a really quick break just so that we can have that moment so that we can drop in our wonderful sponsors that do support us, because we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to share their information out to when we have other affiliates that we're posting our shows to. So everyone, just be silent for just a couple seconds. We're going to just take a quick break. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is a radio, TV, and podcast station. We are the #1 internet singles talk network. You're listening to a tremendous amount of wonderful hosts that we have on our station, also wonderful guests that come into our station and help us, really the elite of the elite. And we're just going to have a moment of silence and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcasting. We're the #1 internet talk network, and I hope that you guys are enjoying this show. We have a very unique show here tonight. It's a special show. It's called a Relationship Connection Show. We have a tremendous amount of hosts here with us. We have Kathy Lamb with us, Derek Bernard, I am Cece Schatz. We have Mark Rossini, and well, I always mess it up. And then we have Johnny, Dr. Johnny. And so thank you so much for being here with us. And then we have these wonderful shows. Let's see, we've got someone who I think we've got to drop off. Okay, Paul, you said you got to drop off. So just real quick.
Yeah, but I just
Forward. He's a literary vet. He does our show with the Veterans Corner. And we want to thank you for coming on board here with us. We appreciate it.
And thank you for your service.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I appreciate it. Yeah, and just one more thing very quickly before I go. You know, one of my last shows, I had a young lady on here that actually does veteran transition assistance, Evan DeSilvio. And I just wanted to share that with you too when we're talking about all of this. This young lady helps veterans transition from military, resume writing, you know, the whole thing. So again, you know, I reached out to her through the community, and I just wanted to share that before I leave as well, because we are trying so hard to find so many things for the veterans out there in ways that we can help them. So CC, again, I appreciate you letting me come on. It was nice to see everyone. Aram, nice to see you again.
Great to see you too.
And I hope to talk to some of you again in the future.
I'm sure you'll see. I'll see you in the courtyard here soon enough.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. What fun. This is been a lot of fun tonight. We have another person here with us. Let's bring her forward. We have Dr. Deborah Matthew. Hello.
Hey
How
there.
are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Now, Dr. Deborah is one of our elite guests, and she did a wonderful show with us here. She's a medical director, Signature Wellness, and she also has written a wonderful book, This Is Not Normal, A Busy Woman's Guide to Symptoms of Hormone Imbalance and Questions. So if you've got any questions, you go to questions@signaturewellness.org, and her website is signaturewellness.org. So welcome to the show here tonight.
Thank you. I've just been listening a little bit before hopping on here. You guys have been talking about a lot of really important things.
Yeah, and a lot of different things, which I think is kind of fun, you know, a little bit kind of kicking it up and doing something a little bit different. And so tell us a little bit about yourself and how do you help? I know that you do help people with regards to, you know, relationships and mainly, again, with themselves because you do Signature Wellness. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I see a lot of people who are struggling with relationships, and a lot of times it's due to intimacy problems and actually hormone imbalances that interfere with those kinds of issues. And also right now, what I'm seeing a lot of is people who are really struggling with stress, because 2020 has just been quite the year, and we all are struggling with stress. And we know that when we are stressed, it impacts cortisol, which is our main stress hormone. It causes weight gain, and then we don't feel so good about ourselves. We don't feel confident. It affects our self-esteem. When we're under stress, it impacts our other hormones, which interfere with intimacy and those kinds of issues. Stress affects our behaviors. We're not at our best. It's really hard to be patient, to get along with others. It really makes it hard to be the best version of ourselves. And when we're trying to get along with others, it really can impact our relationships.
Yeah, it certainly can. And all of us been going through that, when we had the quarantine, and then, trying to, a lot of people are, trying to continue to build relationships in the quarantine. And that was like a
So
nightmare.
hard.
So yeah, so things were a little bit crazy. But so what kind of tips could you give us with regards to helping us with stress?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is really important for everybody to realize is it actually is not so much how much stress you have in your life. Goodness knows we've all got stresses going on right now, but it's not how much stress you have, and it's actually more how you allow the stress to affect you. So if we take two people that have the same amount of, corona stress going on, and one person is a worrier, and they always jump to the worst case scenario, or they ruminate, that same conversation over and over again, like, I can't believe she said that about me. That person is going to take that same amount of stress, and it's going to have a more negative impact on them. Whereas if another person has the same amount of stress, but they have a positive attitude, they have positive thinking, they're an optimist, they're one of those glass half full kind of people, that same amount of stress is going to have less of an impact. They're going to feel better. The stress is the same, but even if you can't control the stress all the time, you have some control over what you choose to think about. And if you can choose to think more positive thoughts, it makes a difference. The tricky part is recognizing when you're stuck in those negative thought patterns, right? And you have to be able to stop yourself, realize what you're doing, and turn yourself to thinking something more positive, which is the tricky part.
Yeah, I like that idea that, so often we think that we've lost control, right, when we're under stress. And we really haven't, because we can gain that control back by mainly, just taking that control and understanding that we can turn that around. So that's a very good point to bring up. So wonderful. So how about you guys? Have you guys been feeling kind of stressed out, especially during the show here?
I have to say that, Dr. Matthews, what you said was really great about positivity, because so many people don't even know or realize that they're not thinking positive or even thinking those terms. And I think it's so important that we really get people to start thinking, what is positive, or what can I do to make it positive, and what steps, and how simple is it, or what can I do just to even get it in motion?
Yeah, one of the tricks that I find is actually really helpful is once you realize that you're worrying and thinking negative thoughts, and you kind of know you need to snap yourself out of it. It can be hard, right? You get stuck in this negativity and this worry. But if you say the word out loud, stop, sometimes saying the word, and even like putting your hand up, stop, is enough to kind of change your thought patterns and allow you to focus on something else. And another thing that I think is really helpful is being grateful. Gratitude is so healing. And if we can stop and think of 3 things that we're grateful for, it really changes the physiology in your body. It changes the chemistry in your body. And no matter how bad things are, you can always find something to be grateful for, even if it's just the fact that the sky is blue today, or whatever it is. But your body can't feel fear and bitterness and anger and worry and feel gratitude at the same time. So if you can focus on feeling grateful, it's very healing.
I can answer a question then, Dr. Matthew. One thing, is the fact that what people don't realize is that if you start thinking positive, doing positive things, it's actually going to help you physically feel better because the natural hormones of pain that work on the pain will be kicking in a lot more if you're otherwise you've got nothing to really help you if you don't use those positive thoughts and what that does to your body.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
are so right.
But another thing is, we were talking about relationships. It's who you're with too that helps you a lot. That really, a lot of people will turn around and see no one there to help them. If you're in a relationship, you have the right kind of person, that helps tremendously too.
Well,
I
that
liked,
is
I liked what you said earlier too about the physicality. Adding physical actions to what you're saying, it really does help to process these thoughts and also to make it more apparent. My mother was talking to me. I was seeking advice from my mother about how to be more, I guess, understanding and gentle, caring whenever talking to my wife, because she pointed out that whenever I talk to people, I'm very focused. I stand very assertively, and that can be interpreted as intimidating. Now, to myself and to my wife, that physicality, she knows that's how I talk or how I stand. So she knows I'm not trying to be manipulative or not trying to be intimidating. But because that is my natural, I guess, physical presence, that could subconsciously be altering the way that what I'm saying is being interpreted. So learning how to adjust my physicality in my relationship has helped me not only to think about what I'm saying more clearly, but also to be, I guess, softer and come off as more caring.
Well, that is true, but I also want to add that the way you think, the way someone processes their thinking is actually a habit. And if you're a negative thinker and you're a habitual negative thinker, that habit could be very difficult to break because you do not see things, well, one who thinks negatively hardly ever sees things in positive terms. And therefore, the secret is knowing how to break that cycle of negative thinking.
I agree.
And that is very, very important because it's easy for people to say, what? If some negative thought come into your mind, just kind of remind yourself that you're not supposed to be thinking negative and move on from there. For some people, it's extremely difficult. One of the things I find helpful is meditation, is trying to live consciously in that moment. And also, I think if you start with exercise and something positive, then that also helps.
That's great advice.
It's interesting you say that. I'm going back probably 10 years ago already. I read an article that said the average person thinks in the negative form about 60% of the time. So they're thinking, I can't do a 5-mile run, but they don't think I could do a 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile and build up. They think of it in the negative, right? And I thought that was interesting because what he pointed out is if you think negatively 51% of the time, which is more than half, you're still a positive person relative to the average person, which seems so bizarre to me, but it really illustrated the way we think is very impactful of ultimately the actions and the successes that we have.
Would you say that people are normally, and this I heard when I was in school, that people are normally negative?
Dr. Johnny, can you hold that thought for just 1 minute? We want to say goodbye to Hip and Humble. They have to leave.
Oh, okay.
So they've been very sweet here staying with us. And so we want to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Yeah, we really
guys.
appreciate you guys having us on.
Nice meeting you all. You're a wonderful mother and son team. It's
Well, thank
very,
you.
very nice meeting you.
Nice
Yeah,
to
it's
meet
been very
you all.
nice.
Meeting you.
We'll be looking
Thank
forward to
you.
the next time.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
your shows are great. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate the time you spent with us tonight.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
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 Okay, Johnny, I'm sorry to bother you, to interrupt you like that. Go ahead.
that's
And,
okay. What I learned when I was going through med school is people are normally negative. It's very easy to be negative. Try and be positive. Takes work. Deb, Dr. Deb, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that there, especially right now with all the stuff that's going on, it is so easy to just get sucked into all the negative. Like every day, just when you think it couldn't possibly get worse, something else just unbelievable happens. And we get so focused on all that negativity. And there's lots of positive things that are going on in the world right now, but it's so easy. We don't focus on those. And, part of the reason is because our brain is designed to keep us alive. And so if there's something that's potentially dangerous that could harm us, we need to remember that. We need to focus on that so we can run away and survive. So our brains are designed to focus on the negative as a life-saving means. But in our modern world, it just makes us unhappy, harder to get along with people, worrying. And if we can learn the skills to change it, it really makes a difference.
Well, part of it also,
Barry, you talk about this a lot. You talk about this a lot in several of the shows that we have. Do you want to interject here a little bit?
I just
Sure.
wanted, I'm sorry.
sorry, who's going first?
No, Barry, go ahead, Barry. You go ahead, Barry, and then we'll follow with Judy.
Well, a couple of things that I want to speak to along the way that's been shared since Deb came on. One of the things is that gratitude is a key tool that I recommend a lot with my clients. I do it myself. I've had a gratitude jar that I basically put 3 pieces of paper in every single day that are things I'm grateful for, just as a habit. And it can be the simplest thing about getting up in the morning. It can be something as amazing as having a great call, like being on a show like this is a wonderful way to be grateful. So having that gratitude jar physically for me, rather than doing a journal, is I see a jar that gets filled up with paper over the period of a year. And I do it every year the same way. I start off with a fresh one each year. It changes the physiology because when I see that, it reminds me I have reasons to be grateful. Things that you said earlier about doing things physically, one of my passions as well is about state changes. It's tempting sometimes, particularly if you're someone who tends to get into a spiral of emotional challenge, state changing by doing things physically, whether it's vacuuming the house or going for a walk or just getting out to the house to get some exercise, are keys you can use to change your state. And by doing that, you physiologically, said it were properly, realign your internal structures. Because one thing I learned in my graduate program was that our physical, mental, emotional experiences are all tied together in a sense that when one of them moves, the other two move as well. And when you understand how to manage that, you can change your whole physiology along the way. So learning how to really manage your own state is something you can do yourself. And in fact, the world right now is definitely giving us opportunities to grow, because it is definitely the world is a negative place, period, to be honest. So the choice that we have is, how do we deal with that? And a friend of mine just got clinically diagnosed as depressed. And I said to her, yes, that's what the clinic says. You have dominion over that. And we have in our brain, I think it's 4 different levels of awareness from the limbic going forward. And one of those is the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, which is based on the fear of flight centered. But we have more than that now. Our frontal cortex is more aware. We can choose to respond to things when we think consciously. The thing is, we have a habit of relying on our instincts, which can be sometimes negative because it relies on a reactant state. When we choose to learn how to respond into the world by being present to what's happening and going, what do I want to do with that? How do I want to respond to that? Versus, oh crap, I've got to run and panic. Because the world does try to give us that environment to play in. We can choose our own playground. So I'm very passionate about us having dominion over our own space and dominion over our ability to respond to the world the way we want to. That was a lot there, sorry.
No, you're fine. It's great. It's very true.
We talked
Judy, you want to
before.
follow up with
Yeah,
that?
I do. I kind of compliments some of what Barry is saying, because like all of us, we've gone through difficult times, and it varies for situations from everybody and their experiences. But when I was going through some very difficult times, people were saying, I don't know how you manage. I don't know how you've gotten through it. It's like, well, I focus on the positives. And what I do is I try to find, it's like, what can I find positive out of that situation? Because every situation, there is a positive. So it's like thinking, what can be positive? What can I draw from that? Even if it's just like one word or a saying or just an experience, or even just that person, or like I have dogs. It's like, well, I've got this. So it's like almost like thinking, what have I got from what I'm going through, or what can I learn from it? You're creating your own positive rather than relying on anybody else. But you're doing it, as I say, from within of what you know. because no matter what is going on, there is a positive. You may not see it right then and there, but a positive does come from it. So that's what I always use is there's a positive, or the other part is from a mindset. Why did that happen? It must meant that it wasn't time for it to happen. So when the right time comes, things will happen.
You know what? Just let me for a second. When somebody, let's say they lose their wife or their husband, and that right from that point on, they're like in a null zone. They don't know what to do. They don't really think about the positives till later, a little bit later on, once their head calms down. That's what I see a lot. And I think it takes that time to get to the point that you're talking about. But in the meantime, from the time of the loss to a certain part of time, it might be a couple of months, it could be a year. Nope, they're not thinking of positive. They're not thinking about what's going to make me good, what's going to make me feel better. Right now, they're all just focused on what made them sad. So how would you say to get out of that point and then get into the positive thinking?
Are you asking me or?
Sorry?
Oh.
Well, you know what? I would say it's a habit. I often say when people ask me, how am I doing or whatever, I say, you know what? I never had a bad day in my life. Okay, and a lot of people feel that's impossible. It doesn't mean that I never had a bad experience, but I've never had a bad day, because each experience I've had, you can really look at it and say, I've learned this from it, or this is a positive outcome that you created for yourself. And I think that's a habit. It's not just taking it easy, or it doesn't come by accident. It comes by effort. And one has to put the effort in if you want to turn around the way that you think and appreciate the more positive things around you, and seeing things in a positive light, etc. So it takes some work.
So what do you say, Dr. Debbie?
Yeah, time is important. It's always going to take time, but no matter where you stand in grief and loss, it still helps to be grateful, even if you're grateful for the time you had with the loved one that you've lost. But of course, it's so difficult when you're really going through something very difficult. It takes a lot of strength to be able to find the things to be grateful for. And I think a lot of times you probably need the help of loved ones, counsel, other people to help you be able to see the good when, you're drowning in the bad.
Yeah.
That's very true. Well, let me put your information up here again so everyone can see it. And then tell us where we can find your book. Is it on your website?
The book is on the website. It's also on Amazon.com. And you can download the first chapter for free at a website called isityourhormones.com.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show here tonight. And, stress is so important, and because it can affect your health all the way through. It's not just, just be having a bad day. It can really affect, your health and wellness. So it's very important that we kind of keep that in check. So I really appreciate you coming on and bringing that subject forward to us. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, Hirsch, let's talk a little bit about finances, because we haven't talked that. And when we wrap up the finances, we're going to go into the big dating. And I hope Barry and Judy will stick with us here on talking about the dating aspect, because that's always something that we want to talk about with us single people here in the room. But Hirsch, let's talk a little bit about financial wellness, because you're really focused a great deal. Your show is focused on the financial wellness, but it seems to be more than what I'm capturing from your shows when I'm listening to your shows. It's that transition that an individual seems to make, that also affects your finances. So what would you say with regards to someone that's stepping into a new life of being single? What are some of the things that they can do? And Dr. Debbie, do you want to stay with us, or do you want to?
I need to run, but thank you so much for having me on.
It's great having you, and we hope to bring you back again
See what happens when
and
you,
cover some other topics too.
Thank you so
Okay?
see
much.
what happens when you say finances, you start losing hope.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let's talk about finances and that
Right.
transition into single life.
So
Any
yeah,
suggestions?
I think, well, the first thing I think it's important maybe to just share 1 minute of my background because it talks a little bit about the passion
Please.
behind what I do. So, you know, in 2012, my father and mother were on vacation. They were out in Dallas. My dad woke up, literally walked out the door, and he passed away. And I went through a divorce right after that. And then we had to put my mom in assisted living. So in about 20 months, I experienced major transitions in my life, not just one, not two, three major ones. And that actually was really why I started the company Life Cycle Financial, because I wanted to help others going through these transitions, these cycles of their life. Because people in general, you know, we don't teach people, we teach our kids how to iron, how to cook, how to change a tire, but we don't seem to teach them the financial wellness that is so important in our lives. And so when I went through these three life cycles, I think it really it enhanced the need or the awareness of the need for the financial coach like myself. And so what I've really learned is we spoke about, Dr. Johnny spoke about when you lose somebody, I call it an emotional fog. You're wading yourself through these emotions. You don't know what you're feeling because sometimes you numb. And you can't, if you stay there, you're never going to create financial wellness. And so you do need to understand where you are and who you are, again, coming from the emotional side of things. So what are your priorities in life? That's a very, very important question to ask yourself, because at different phases in your life, you know, if you're getting divorced in your 30s, you're at a very different stage and need than many of my clients actually are getting divorced in their late 50s and 60s. So the approach that I take with people is to prioritize, organize, and then simplify your finances, because far too often people find finances daunting and intimidating. And that's not how you want to live your life. You don't want to add stress because you lost somebody that already caused stress. You know, so being able to work on a simple level, but an effective level, really will help you in a lot of ways, emotionally, physically, which is related to that, but also be able to take more control of the finances that are so vital to our everyday lives, obviously, as well. So understanding what you need beyond the event. So if you're going through a divorce, obviously you want to look beyond. You know, if you've lost somebody, very often, you know, it might be prolonged before you lose a loved one, but sometimes it's not. Like my father, it was in an instant. You really need to kind of regroup and understand where you are. It really comes, a lot of it is the education, and sometimes it's the education for yourself that becomes so vital in really being able to move forward and create a success financially in that way.
Yeah, you're so right with that. Listen, we're going to have to say goodbye to Coach Judy. I'm terribly sorry that you have to leave us here tonight, but she has to take her dog out. So we have to say goodbye to her. But thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to have Barry Selby here. He's going to continue on with dating after we wrap up the financial aspect. So thank you so much, Judy. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it as well. It was nice meeting all of you. Thank you.
And we're going to look forward to all of your shows that are on WGSN-DB. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. You've got a great show on Sunday.
Okay, bye.
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 Okay, Hirsch, let's go back up to a little bit of what you were talking about. And you're right. I think that as we transition into whether it's a relationship loss of some sort or just something that's happened in our lives that's created this this awareness that we have to step back, look at our life as where it is and our finances of what we want to do. But we tend to be in a bit of a fog as we're moving through that transition state. And I think it's great to have someone like yourself as a coach, and also these wonderful shows that you're doing, because it really creates an awareness and enlightenment to be able to look at our lives in a different way. And so finances, it tend to be a daunting thing. It's a scary thing, right? And so to listen to some of these shows that you're doing and breaking it down into small segments, pieces than which we can grasp, it takes away that fear that we have of financing. So I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. I think it's pretty awesome.
I just want to add one thing. Derek, you had mentioned earlier how you've recreated yourself a couple times. I think financially through our life, we constantly recreating who we are and how we spend our money and the spending habits we create. When you're 21 or 22 and you get your first job and you've got relatively no responsibilities, the cash is flowing nicely. Go forward a few, you want to spend it on a special person that you meet, then you get kids. All of a sudden it's not your money, it's the college's money and all those kind of things. We really need to focus. And sometimes I'll speak to people. I had somebody come to me and he said, I want to talk about starting. How do I sorry, he didn't say starting. He said, I want to talk about how do I retire in 15 years? And I was like, great. Well, how long have you been saving? He started like 2 years prior. And I was thinking in 17 years, you want to save enough money to live for 20. There's something wrong with just that thought. So like everything, we need a plan. We need to think beyond. One of the most vital things that I always tell people is you have to have a budget. Most people, the way they do a budget is they put out their income, they put down their expenses. If you want, cross your fingers, put up a prayer, hopefully there's something at the bottom line that's a positive number. But a budget can be a very educational tool, not just that it tracks how much you spend. So the way I do them actually is I will ask you to ignore your income in the beginning. I want you only to identify your essential spend. And it's amazing what people think is essential sometimes. But beyond that, looking at that, what you need to live. Then taking your income and understanding how does that fit together. And there's usually some money left over. And now, based on who you are, those priorities that I spoke about that you identify earlier, now we can build a substantive life around all of this for you. And that becomes such a wonderful way to live your life, because it's easy if you don't think about it deliberately to frivolously spend money, and you get upset, you waste money, you don't get fulfilled. I think there's a lot to that. So the one advice I will give people, if you ever think about spending money, especially if it's on a whim, ask yourself this one question. I actually saved somebody $17,000 when he bought a car on this one question.
Wow.
Will future you be upset with current you if you buy this? Because you taking a step back, you putting it in a perspective, do I really need this? When the bill comes in a month, how am I going to feel? And he went through that question, every option they asked him on the car, and he literally saved $17,000. I didn't ask him how much the original car was going to cost, because that would have blown my mind, but it's a very powerful question to really be able to think through some of these things and not, act on a whim or impulsively.
That's great advice. That's terrific advice. Yeah.
I wanted to buy a boat, and that boat was $17,000. I would feel terrible the next day. Really?
Would
Yeah.
you?
The day after that, don't even ask me, because I'll be having a ball.
The day you get it and the day you sell it.
You're no help, Dr. John.
I know.
That's funny. Well, I love your show. I think you're doing really great work. I hope that, those out there that they need a, helping hand with their finances, that they definitely reach out to you and get that information. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about the subject all singles want to hear, and that's dating. So, Dr. Johnny, you may have some questions for Barry Selby. So now is the time to hit him up. What do you think?
Mark, bro, I need to.
What do you need, brother?
Questions about dating.
We were talking, I think it was last week.
The gratitude.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, Barry, you had said earlier you fill a jar every year with gratitude, if I can paraphrase.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever go back and read those? I'm curious because I would think that would bring a lot of joy.
This past year I didn't get through the whole thing because it took, basically it's 1,000 pieces of paper, it's three pieces every day.
Yeah.
So I do dive into it and just go through randomly because I went through the whole thing, it's too many. But just go through and just scan through stuff because it brings up memories and it's also reassuring. So yes,
and
doing
I
that
was
is good.
thinking as a dating couple, that would be an amazing thing to do, and every year review your year.
There's a whole thing about doing it with with couples together. That's a whole different conversation because that's almost putting together a like a treasure trove. So it's not just gratitude; it's more than that. So there's another level.
Thank you.
That's a great idea, actually. I think that's a good, and it's a very positive way to, interject your relationship. So as you're building a relationship together, if you have a jar that you're building positive information, and then you go back a year later and look at some of that stuff, that's pretty.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty romantic too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I love that idea, and I just wanted to find out more.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And a candlelit dinner and go through the jar.
Okay. All right. So let's get on with some of these questions. Now, come on, John. You've had some questions for us here in the past.
Sure did. Last week, I think it was last week.
But you have to sit up a little bit, change your position there because we can't see you very well. There you go. That's better. Now we can see you. We want to get you in the camera.
All right. We were talking last week about what women wanted to look for in a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? No, you don't remember that.
No, what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because there was activity going on in the studio here.
we were talking last week about what women look for in a man.
Okay.
During dating. Do you remember what that was? Do you remember what the things were that women seemed to look at? I know you guys were looking at it. Weren't you looking at their abs, their chest? And weren't you looking about all these physical things? But you know, one thing I never heard you say is, what about their intelligence, or what kind of a man this guy is? What kind of a conversation is he?
No, I think that was in there about his.
You think?
I don't have the list now in front of me, but I thought there was about his character, his integrity, and things like that. But about being in conversations, I think but some guys aren't, and then aren't they? They're entitled to a relationship too. So
yeah, no, they are. But I thought about it, and I said, he can have abs like washboard, but how long is it going to stay? Then what do you have left?
I agree.
That's a question for Derek.
Yeah,
Derek.
Listen, brother, I no longer have them. I never had them actually.
And he said it right on air.
But I'll tell you one thing. I think women say that men are supposed to look at their intelligence, right? But it's okay for them to look at the chest and the washboard abs and all of that. So go figure.
Well, all we're going to say is we're not going to look at. We're not going to pass that up. But I do think women look for more depth in a person, and I think if you're looking for a partner, Barry, maybe you can back me up on this, please.
You need a backup?
Can you dig me out of the hole, Barry? Come on. And so we are looking for more than just what someone looks like.
So let me.
I know we have to have that physical connection somewhere along the line, but
physical chemistry is actually a part of the conversation. So yes, physical chemistry is important. You've got to be attracted to each other. But beyond that, because there are other pieces, one of the things I learned very clearly in the work over these I've been studying is that for what women are looking for is a man that they can count on, a man they can trust. Because without that, it doesn't matter how good their abs are or anything else, they will get to the place where they won't be able to trust him. I talked about trust earlier, but the truth is, when we are trustable as men, women will basically, first of all, they'll respect us, they'll like that, and they can rely upon it. And in a relationship especially, it's not about necessarily providing financially, it's about providing the space, the energy of holding space for her, so she knows That when she gets upset, you don't run away. When she's dealing with some stress, she can lean on you. When she's feeling upset, you can hold her space, those sort of things.
Yeah, but you know what, Barry? And I think Mark's sitting back there. He's not saying a word. What do you want? You and I had talked about that. And one of the things that we decided that women will get us caught up in the friend zone. That's.
Oh, here we go. I'm talking about the friend zone again.
Friend zone, right? We were talking about that, and you'll find out that more women will go into a friend zone than they will be into a dating type of attitude. Why is that? If you're so nice, they can trust you.
Well, see, this is again, there's the chemistry and also the trusting as well. I didn't say it's the same thing. So the thing is, if you don't have the chemistry with somebody, it's going to be hard to progress that sort of level of romance and interest and sexual connection. The trustability is a different piece of that. You can date somebody because you're attracted to them, no problem. But if you want something that's going to last a bit longer, then having that underlying, that foundation to build on is going to make it easier to be in a relationship with them. So yes, Derek.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just going to talk nonsense. Go ahead. You
hang on. Derek, you think I'm not?
I was going to tell Tony, you just going a very long way of telling them, go get some abs and chest, man. And then...
You can buy that T-shirt with the abs.
I've got one coming in for
As I say, I live in LA, so I see a lot of this, visual candy, both men and women, a lot around in this town. Well, it's not so much now because we're all locked down. But the thing I'm aware of is that our culture has changed over the last 25, 30 years with marketing. When all these different catalogs started coming out, and the men were, those black and white photographs of men with abs and deep chests in their clothes, women started to get tuned into the physical appearance. Back in the day, women were more attracted to what the men can provide for her, the space, the energy, the money, and everything else. Nowadays, women have been trained to look at men's abs. It used to be that way. So you can blame advertising for that one.
Would you say that California is like that, or is it like it used to be?
I would say California is, because I'm in LA, Tinseltown, the whole Hollywood thing, plus Venice Beach, all these different things. There's a part of the community that's like that, but I'm not. I mean, it's also true in Florida too. I mean, Miami, other places.
Miami.
Yeah. But again, back to what I'm talking
about. We'll never go to Miami or LA again.
I was just trying to figure out how much an airplane ticket.
I couldn't compete. I'd have to go somewhere in the middle of the country.
I don't believe that.
Women also have good careers, make their own money, and a lot of women these days, in fact, quite most of them probably don't really need a man for security or for financial well-being. They do that.
Yeah.
They have that.
Things have changed over the years.
I disagree with that, Derek. You know why? I mean, let me put it another way. I agree with you, but probably 85% of the women don't agree with you, because when I go, like, I belong to, like everybody else does, the Match, the whatever, what are the ones out there? But what they do is they'll say the same thing. It's almost like they cut and paste. They want somebody that will laugh with them. Okay, that's good. They like traveling. Well, yeah. I mean, that's on my dime or yours. Then they'll go into the finances, and they'll say he must be financially set.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure you don't want somebody that's living in a cardboard box.
Yeah, because they don't want you depending on them.
Yeah, but like most of them are. Most of the women, and sorry about women, I'm not against them, but I just want to understand that what I see, it's not what I think, it's what I see is what's going on. Why is it always the same thing? The ones that I see that are short and they come, just, you can tell right from the heart, They want someone that laughs with them. They want to do things spontaneously with that special person. And they'd like to go out once in a while, but they're just as good in jeans. Those are the people to me that sound like they're the ones that are really worth dating or going after or trying to get a date with than the other ones, because the other ones, again, they're cut and paste. They're all the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. And
I think can I interject? I think
Sure.
a lot of times it's because they think that's what men want to hear.
Exactly.
And so they're, like you said, they're putting in things but that isn't going to build a relationship.
That's right.
So that's what we're talking about tonight, is building relationships. So here's the thing, and I know Barry and Derek, we have talked about this, your vibration level, right?
Yep.
And so when you're secure within yourself and you know what it is that you're looking for in a partner, it raises your vibration level to that degree. And so you will attract those kind of individuals in your life. If you're constantly attracting those that you're attracting, and then you realize this isn't really what I want, it's because you're at that lower vibration level. So the trick is getting your vibration level higher so that you can attract those into your life that you truly want. And then maybe Barry and Derek can both touch on that a little bit, and maybe that might help you.
Well, the thing is, I was going to say to what you said there, the vibration, it's like knowing what you want is important, yes. The other part, as I said this way back somewhere in the show earlier, about how it's really about not needing somebody, like the desperation is not there. And yes, there are women out there who are desperate for the man. There's also men desperate for the woman. So it's understanding that when you're already whole, you're already complete, you don't need someone, you just like someone to add to your life. That's a much healthier place to come from, either a man or woman. There's no difference in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
The recognition, and that also, by the way, raises your vibration because you're playing in a higher level where you go, I'm already autonomous, I'm whole, I'm healthy, I'm happy. I don't need anybody in my life. I'd love somebody in my life, but I don't need them. When you come to a place, I need someone to make me feel whole, that's the codependency thing I talked about. It's a trap we fall into because we've been trained that way. I mean, Jerry Maguire said, you complete me. Baloney. It's not true, but we think that way because the way the romantic gestures keep telling us to. So really learning how to be whole and enjoying your life and adding to it by having somebody join you. It's like, for me, relationships not 50-50. In my book, I talk about this. Relationships are actually 100-100 because none of us are incomplete. We just think we are. So shifting that piece alone is one way of raising your vibration.
Yeah, that was a question. The question I asked was asked of me, to me, by a lot of guys, and that's why I brought it to you, see what you felt.
Yeah, it was a good question. You wonder sometimes when you read the dating sites, should they just put on there, listen, I want to do everything I want to do, and if you don't want to do it, don't contact me.
There you go. Nice, fast, simple, easy.
That's it.
That's it. Otherwise, you have to read 15 paragraphs. I mean,
That's
right. You got to have a baseline of like, what's the minimum requirements you want to have in a relationship? It's good to start with that. Yeah,
that's right.
You have to know yourself, and you have to know what you want for yourself and what you want from someone else. I often come back to the theory of the circles, which is you have to be a complete circle, and you have to feel that within yourself that you don't really need someone, but you would like someone because you're complete, right. Financially, emotionally, psychologically, whatever. You
got to let that person into your circle.
And, and then you look for another circle like you who is complete to make a very strong link with. Because if that circle is broken, you wouldn't make a good link, brother. It's going to be coming apart before you know it.
Yeah, Mark said something back there. He said something intelligent. Is
that surprising or what?
I told him to watch himself. I warned him. No,
we'll be back in Clearwater soon, Dr. John.
I know that.
We'll be on your case. Well, here's the thing: is that's what dating's all about, right, Barry? It's just you connect a little bit on the website, you chat a little bit, and if it looks like it's something that someone that you want to maybe meet or whatever, you meet them. If it doesn't really gel with you, that's where the friend zone comes in. And I know you always ask about the friend zone,
Yeah.
but that's where the kind of friend zone comes in. It's like it's a person that you meet that you're not really quite sure that you can connect with them in a partner ways, but you still would like them in your life. You know, you like them enough that you're saying, hey, I'd like to be a friend with you, but there's something not right either with the connection that you have with that person, or maybe you're not ready, or something that's happening within your own zone. But that's where I think that friend friend zone tends to come in. And if you're finding that a lot, when you're meeting women that you're falling into that friend zone, then you have to really evaluate what you're looking for, because are you really meeting the right women?
Maybe it's a blessing. She's sticking you into friend zone. She might
So, Johnny, are you putting any women in your friend zone?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Cam.
Are you putting any women in your friend zone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but wait a minute. Wait.
Let's hear about that.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Okay, wait, right before we hear some of these wonderful tales coming from Dr. Johnny on dating, we're going to say goodbye to Hirsch because he's got to run.
I got one quick
Thank you
question
so
for
much.
Hirsch.
Oh, okay.
And it's a Chicago thing.
Okay.
Are you a North Sider or a South Sider?
That's a tricky question because the accent.
No, there's no trick.
I'm a Southern boy, but I spend my time in the northern suburbs.
Okay, that doesn't answer the question though.
Well, I'm up in the north.
Yeah.
You're a North Sider.
Yeah, I kind of cover the whole of Chicagoland, but I'm a northerner. I'm from the north there. The northern suburbs.
I was born and raised there. It was a pleasure meeting you.
You too. Appreciate it. This was amazing. This was a lot of fun. Cece, we should do it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Everyone.
We'll listen to your show. We love it. Bye. Bye. Okay, Johnny, let's talk a little bit about women that you're putting in the friend zone.
Right. Well, is there, and let me ask Catherine.
About you being put in the friend zone, so I want to find out about you putting the women in the friend zone.
That doesn't say much, but when she does, it's a
I'm going to
zinger.
use her for negotiating my next car. I'll tell you. Here's what I'm thinking, Kath.
Okay.
Is it possible that someone can be such a good? No, I don't want to get this wrong here. Can be such a good friend, being outwardly, being friendly, doing anything for you, and she gets kicked into the friend zone because they're that good or they're that nice. Not good, but they're that nice. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not making myself clear.
No, I think what he's saying is because I have some friends like that you don't want to lose a friendship, so you're afraid to go that next level with like a partner.
You go. Perfect.
Because if that doesn't work out, can you go back to the friend zone? And that's hard. That's very hard to do.
Right.
So I want to throw one thing on the table though, which is why would you not want to be best friends with the person you're in a relationship with?
There you go. That was my next thing.
Because I've had relationships that were basically they started with the first date and they ended when we broke up.
Mm-hmm.
I've had relationships where we started and we got to be friends pretty quickly, and then we were in a relationship. But when it ended, we actually had a better friendship than we had a relationship. So it's the different thing. So I personally, I'm very clear that ideally your partner is your best friend.
Right. You want to be friends. You want to be very good, very good.
But not just friends.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing: is it your, if you've got someone that in your life that you're friends with, right? And you haven't taken it to the next level of maybe a partnership or letting them know that you have that interest to being a partner with them. Mm-hmm. If you don't take the chance, life is all about taking risks and chances, you know, and if you don't take the chance, you'll never really know. And you'll think back on your life and you'll think, oh, I remember such and such, and, we were so close and everything was great. And I wonder what it would be like to have a relationship with her. Well, you'll never know if you don't take the chance.
Yeah, but see, guys talk just like women do. We get and I'll tell you what, Mark, don't laugh because you were in there too. a lot of the things are that men don't understand why they'll take the chance, okay? And they'll go out to dinner or they'll do something really nice. And then, through the conversation, you'll get I'm really not ready to, I don't want to be in a relationship. You're such a nice guy. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay.
And that's just
You know what
another
I'm
way
saying? A
of thinking.
lot. It happens a lot.
That's
It's because there's something there that didn't connect, right?
Yeah, Johnny.
Johnny, that's just another way of saying no.
Johnny,
What?
I'm not attracted to you in that way.
Well,
I hope you're not attracted to him.
wow. I'll tell you, you're in my friend zone.
I think that's just another way of saying that, And some guys don't hear that, and they keep pushing and pushing. But if the woman is not attracted, she's not attracted. Similarly, you're going to meet women who, hey, you love them to death, but you don't have a physical attraction to them. A relationship is impossible without the physical attraction.
Okay, Kathy, you want to say something?
Okay, so just because they decided, yes, I'd like to take a chance and go out to dinner with you and get to know you better, it doesn't mean they have to be attracted to you enough to have a romantic relationship with you.
True.
They're just taking the chance to see, that's what they want, and
So what are they really
if they don't want it,
saying?
you're in the friend zone.
And I think after a while,
from a woman's perspective.
Right. Well, okay. Haven't you been out, Johnny, with women that you really liked and respected and had fun with, but you really don't want to go any further with? Haven't you been out with women like that before?
Yes, I know you have.
I played the fifth. How do you know?
You are Italian.
Never mind. I'm not
So
gonna.
you have to look at it like that and put your, switch it up a little bit, because if you felt that way about women, then that's it, and you're not being insulting to them. There's something about them that didn't click, and so that's okay, Yeah,
Right.
and it doesn't change you for who you are, and maybe you don't have that notch on your headboard or whatever. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't have any more.
well, you found your notch.
No, you looked at your bed.
Not my mattress. I'm just kidding. It's all in fun. What other doctor would you have done like this? I mean,
There you go, gangster.
it's a lot of fun, and I think that we're really learning a lot just by these little innuendos and little things that happen to people. And it's true. I mean, I'm not saying it's not all me. I've had one person that wanted to be just in a friend zone, and all the other girls, they just wanted to marry me. But what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm just kidding.
You're spoiled for choice. You're spoiled for choice.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's interesting because I can ask you, I can ask Kathy, Mark. Forget him. But I can ask questions and get it from here. For right inside things that men want to know, but they're afraid to ask. So, I mean, maybe I'll ask them. I'll find out.
Prime example. Here's a good example. We went out on the boat, right?
Right. Uh-oh.
I thought I clicked with a young lady, right?
Right.
I wasn't tall enough to ride that ride. Right?
She probably clicked with the boat, Mark.
Literally.
I hope she's not listening.
So
I hope
I'm
she's
in the
not
friend zone. That's cool. It is what it is.
You know what? Well, I know who you're talking about. And
All right.
definitely size matters.
I'm not saying a word.
Height matters. Okay? That's that. Oh, Lordy. But give me a glass of wine. But some people it does, and that's okay. And it kind of goes along to what we were talking about before about clicking, and that's a physical problem that some tall women just can't do. They they can't wear heels, and they'll be a foot and a half taller. But you know what? I've seen women that are with guys that are shorter, and they're as happy as can be.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I got it. I mean, people are different, but like I said, I just want you guys to commit yourself to how you feel, and maybe gives other people the idea of what I'm trying to say when I'm sitting here babbling and don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But you know what I mean? But I'm just a comedian anyway. But that's what I mean. I mean, getting it right from the horse's mouth, basically what it is.
So which one of them is the horse?
Me.
Well, you guys are funny. We're gonna have to try to wrap this up here pretty soon. I think on the 9:30 mark we should wrap it up. But is there any words you'd like to say, Barry, to kind of help out here a little bit?
Well, first of all, a couple of things. Answer that thing about the height question. It is a question, like height's one of the things, like, having hair or no hair can be part of the question for women too, right? If you want to be the man who's got or doesn't have. So there's always going to be certain things that are going to be like red flags or green flags, like can't do that, or it's okay with that. And so I think personally it's important for us to get clear about what is attractive to you. Because yes, it's nice to have the qualities like, again, trustability, honesty, integrity, monogamy, those things, but also what is it you like about somebody physically? Do you want them to be shorter than you, or narrower than you, or more hair than you, whatever those things are? Know what they are, because then you meet somebody, one, you might be surprised, but secondly, at least you know what you're sort of playing with. Because the thing is, this dating arena, there are so many people out there who are single. You're going to meet anybody. The range of possibilities is infinite. So being willing to know what you want means you can at least be more aware of what you're noticing. It's like basically that's another thing you can do when you're out in the world, noticing someone of the opposite sex you're interested in. Notice what qualities attract you to them, because it may not be what they look like. It may be something about their energy that goes, "Wow, she's cute, or she's attractive, or she's sexy." Maybe it's the way she walks. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just first of all getting clear in yourself. What is attractive to you? What do you like? And then also get clear about what it is you do not want to be with. Like, I'm very clear, I cannot be with someone who's polyamorous or someone who cheats on me, because that's clear for me. Most people are that way. But if you don't have that clarity, you might meet with somebody and go, well, they're attractive, and then find out, oh, they're still married. That won't work. So it's like getting clear about what things are. Sorry, after you.
There's one other subject I really would like to touch on tonight, and it's about being I almost forgot what it was. I wanted to talk about. It was I'm having a blonde moment, but yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, but it's about being attracted to someone that is not available. It's like there seems like there's people that go out, and it's like they keep choosing not available people. Yeah.
That's the safe zone.
Yeah, or like, for instance, the ones that are going to put them in the friend zone. They know they're going to be put in the friend zone, but they still want to chase that person. They still want to. They think that if they keep doing something different, she'll change her mind, or he'll change his mind.
Right.
So what do you say about that?
It's called chasing dreams.
Well, actually, I would say it's not. It's following patterns. It's trying to repeat cycles, and that's the thing. I mean, I've said this in my own work about how we tend to do recycle relationships, different people with the same experience. If you keep going the same direction with the same pursuit and it's not working for you, maybe the issue is inside of you, not them. Self-awareness, it's always comes back to you again, self-love, self-awareness. Knowing what it is you're doing that's not working for you, you can change that pattern. So if you keep going out with people who are not available, you can use that as a radar thing. Like I would notice sometimes I keep attracting the same sort of women. I changed like my own wiring, my own belief systems, and I started not attracting those people anymore. Mm-hmm. So it is an inside job that we get to do the work ourselves. But the thing is, it sounds simple, but you got to be aware of the fact you're doing it in the first place. Because some people keep doing the same thing again and again and again without any clue they're doing it. They're not even aware they're attracting unavailable people, but they keep doing it and going, "What's wrong with this picture? Why isn't that? Why is it not happening?" It's like, because you're attracting those people again and again and again. So. Do the work inside, yourself, and know what it is you really do want, and then follow through.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, Derek, do you want to say anything else as we're starting to wind down here?
Well, I would just say, look, man, it comes down again. It always comes back to the same thing with me: communications, communications with yourself as well, because there's intrinsic communication, there's extrinsic communications. And once you have put those things in perspective. You get to know yourself, and you got to know what you're looking for, who you're looking for, the characters, the qualities, etc. And I think that's a good place to start.
Derek, you're absolutely right. I only got a second, but you're absolutely right, because I remember you talking about that before. So I kind of changed myself talking to women, and I'm trying to let them know where I'm at. Right? That's a good way of starting it. Well, I don't know if she's still running or she's in the next state, but she never stopped.
Out of there.
Anyway,
Yeah. So Barry, will you share with us how we can get a hold of you? Because I didn't have your information up here to be able to show.
Oh
us.
no!
So, yeah, I know. Sorry.
Well, basically, my name is my website, my social media, my YouTube channel. If you didn't get a chance to watch it on YouTube, I've got a playlist called "Cracking the Codependency Code" that a friend of mine and I put together. It's a 5-part series that basically is people are really loving. They're valuing a lot. So if you go to basically my name on YouTube, so youtube.com/Barry Selby. There's a playlist on there called Cracking the Codependency Code. Recommend you check that out. It's also my website. My website is my name again, barryselby.com. And I did put the links to that on my website as well. My books there, my coaching, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and we'll definitely make you a page on our site so everybody has your link. So
Thank you.
Work on that when I get back from vacation, because I'm in South Carolina.
You enjoying yourself?
I see you all are having a ball. I don't think Mark is going to let you all leave.
He's counting the days.
I got 2 beautiful women in my bed.
I'll
see you next week, Mark.
Yeah, he's been saying that all day long.
Next Thursday we'll have 4 people on that little square.
It's nice that he sleeps upstairs, but anyhow. So so before we close, I just have to do a shout out, and because this gentleman couldn't make it here with us tonight, Arnie Fonseca Jr. He's a male life strategist. He's the host of Health, Love, and Life. If I can say it right, Health, Life, and Love Show, and his phone number is 602-390-9144, and his website is arniefonseca.com. Now Arnie is away because he normally has a show on Thursdays, but he is away doing a Grand Canyon adventure, and he does these adventures, and I want to share that with everyone. If you ever want to do a Grand Canyon adventure, he gathers people together, trains them, and organizes the trip for them. So he's on a big trip here in the Grand Canyon. So I wanted to make sure he was going to try to get on his phone and connect with us. And I said, well, hey, we'll just do a shout out. It's safer that way. So going off some sort of clip for me, that would be bad. But anyhow, so if you guys, he helps gentlemen, businesses, as life coach. And so definitely connect with him on his wonderful show, Health, Life, and Love Show. So we want to appreciate that. Barry, thank you so much for hanging with us from start to finish.
Thank you.
You are a trooper. And,
thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, we love you. We love you. You're always welcome here on our station anytime. So thank you. And Dr. Johnny, thank you so much for being one of our guest hosts here tonight. I hope you come back and do it again with us. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be fun. And Mark, thank you for sharing your home with us and letting us broadcast here. And of course, we have wonderful Kathy Lamb here. Yeah. And thank you, Derek, for sharing the boy and girl hour here with us.
You did the Star Trek thing?
Yeah, you did the Star Trek. Let me see. I thought I used to be able to do it. I have to give it some thought.
We knew that.
I think he's doing it because of your finger.
You've been using that finger too much?
We got so much fun already, and now we got a big adventure planned tomorrow.
I gotta go cook again.
Yeah.
Oh,
dear.
You're sharing your home, you're sharing your heart,
Boy, Kathy
sharing
has
your culinary skills. That's a wonderful thing.
We're getting spoiled. It's a great time.
Kathy, you changed.
So thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we hope to do another one of these shows. It'd be a lot of fun. It's great having all the wonderful guests and hosts that popped in. So we appreciate that. All right, take care, guys. Be safe.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
Barry. Bye,
See
Jerry.
you all.
Bye, Dr. Johnny. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.